Good morning, good evening, and welcome to today's class on twists. I'm going to start class today lying on our backs, just taking a moment to connect with the breath. If we can, inhaling and exhaling through the nose, letting the chest rise on the inhale and fall on the exhale. Taking a moment just to switch off from our surrounding environment and to tune into our body. And from here, we're going to take hold of our strap and just lay it across the body, drawing the right knee in towards the chest and taking the hands around the knee and just drawing it in. Starting to draw some little circles with the toes on the right foot and reversing the direction if you haven't already done so. From here, taking hold of the strap, placing it around the ball of the foot and extending the leg up towards the ceiling, keeping a slight bend behind the knee, bearing in mind we're not too warm yet. Taking the hands up the strap so the arms are nice and long, keeping a slight bend in the elbows, relaxing the shoulders down towards the mat and pressing the heel up towards the sky. Trying to lengthen the inhale, letting the chest rise and expand, and on the exhale, slowly relaxing back down. From here, taking the strap into the left hand and drawing the leg across the body. So we only want to come as far here as we feel the hips start to lift off the mat. Pressing through the heel and maybe taking the right arm out towards the side for support. Slowly coming back towards center. If you have a block handy, put it under the outside edge of the right hip. Taking the left arm out towards the side and then letting the right leg come out just as far as we feel the left hip start to rise off the ground or until it comes into contact with the block. Then slowly drawing the right leg back towards center, releasing the foot from the strap and extending the leg back down along the mat. Taking the block over to the other side and then drawing the left knee in towards the chest and again just starting to circle the ankle. In everyday activities and the rest of our yoga practice, we don't work through the full range of our ankle, so it's always good to get a bit of extra movement flowing here. Then taking hold of the strap and placing it around the ball of the foot and extending the left leg up towards the sky. Again, trying to keep the arms relatively straight, drawing the shoulders down the back and making sure the right leg is nice and straight out in front of us. Breathing nice and deeply. And then from here, we're going to take the strap into the right hand, extend the left arm out towards the side, pressing into the heel, and again, only coming over as far as we feel the left hip start to lift off the mat. Slowly coming back towards center, and then out towards the other side. So the strap now comes into the right hand, extending the left arm out towards the side, and the right hip comes to rest on the block, or only drawing the left leg over as far as you feel the right leg start to lift off the mat. And then slowly drawing the left leg back towards center, releasing the strap, and then from here gently rocking back up to seated. We're going to come through to our tabletop position, so we're going to take the hands underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips. On the inhale, slowly rounding through the back, coming towards our cat, and on the exhale, rippling through, drawing the chest forward. In your own time, with the breath moving between these two positions, trying to move as fluidly as possible between these two positions. So if anywhere's feeling a little bit tight, just slowing down the movement through that region of the spine, and just trying to help things move a little bit more consciously and independently. And from here, coming back to a neutral position, lifting the left hand up towards the ceiling and then threading the arm underneath us, coming to our thread the needle position. Option to tuck the toes on the back right foot and press into the heel. So extending the right leg. The toes are still tucked on the mat though, so the leg doesn't lift. We're getting a calf stretch here alongside the shoulder stretch. Then gently drawing the right knee down, extending the left hand back up towards the ceiling and coming over to the other side. On the inhale, lifting the right hand up towards the ceiling and then threading the arm through underneath us. Option again to tuck the toes, this time on the left foot, so pressing into the heel, straightening through the left leg, getting a calf stretch alongside the right shoulder stretch. Making sure we're breathing nice and deeply still. And then drawing the left knee down, taking the right hand back up towards the ceiling, extending the fingertips, and placing the hand back on the mat. From here, taking the hands out in front of us, coming towards our puppy dog pose, so the chest comes down towards the mat. Breathing nice and deeply, stretching out through the tops of the shoulders. You don't have to come quite as deep here if you don't want to, but just aiming to draw the chest down towards the mat, keeping the hips stacked above the knees. Then slowly pressing our way back to our tabletop and then lifting ourselves into our downward facing dog. Tucking the toes underneath us, pedaling out through the feet, lifting the hips up towards the skies, maybe twisting the knees in if that feels good, just getting some motion flowing through the body here. Then walking the feet in towards the hands and finding our way to our ragdoll position. So taking hands to opposite elbows, gently rocking left and right, letting the back of the neck be nice and long and heavy. We're opening up through the back here. Lifting the hips towards the sky, but keeping a slight bend in the knees. And then on the inhale, rolling up through the spine, circling the arms up overhead, lifting the chest. Then on the exhale, drawing the hands to center and slowly folding all the way back down. On the inhale, finding a halfway lift, straightening out through the back. On the exhale, folding forward. Slowly rolling up through the spine. On the next inhale, circling the arms up overhead, lifting the chest, and then on the exhale, drawing the hands to prayer. I'm going to keep the hips facing forward here. Take the arms back overhead, and I'm going to twist towards the left. So the left hand comes behind us. We circle the arm through and up towards the sky again, and then come over to the right side. So the right arm comes behind, circling it back around, taking both arms up overhead. And then opening up to the left again, so the right hand comes forward. We keep the hips facing towards the front, and then we circle the arms back round. Right arm comes behind the side, opening up towards the right, and then circling the arms back overhead. From here, slowly folding forward, lowering back down, then finding a halfway lift, straightening out through the back. Hands frame the feet, stepping back to our plank. Lowering the knees down, taking the chest to the floor. Hands in line with the shoulders, inhaling, lifting to cobra, and exhaling, lowering back down, tucking the toes, and pressing back to our downward facing dog. Lifting the hips up nice and high, straightening through the back, pressing into the hands. Nice deep breath, and then on the next inhale, lifting the left leg up towards the ceiling and stepping the left foot through to the top of the mat, drawing the right knee down. From here, we're taking the right hand to the inside of the left foot and opening the left hand up towards the ceiling, so the chest faces the left leg, which is at the front of the mat. Gazing up towards the top hand, coming into an internal twist here. And then on the next inhale, taking the left hand back down towards the mat, maybe stepping the left foot slightly further forward, taking the arms overhead so we can really sink into our crescent moon lunge here. So we should feeling a nice deep stretch through the right hip flexor, keeping the chest nice and lifted, drawing the shoulders down the back. Then taking the hands to frame the front foot, stepping back to our plank, pressing into the heels. And then slowly lowering the knees down, taking the chest to the floor. On the inhale, lifting through to cobra. And on the exhale, lowering back down. Taking 3 rounds of cobra, so on the next inhale, lifting the chest again. And on the exhale, lowering back down. Third and final time on the inhale, lifting the chest, drawing through, imagining that there's a string connected to the bottom of your rib cage. And gently lowering back down and pressing your way back to downward facing dog. Lifting the hips up towards the sky, tucking the feet underneath us. Then on the next inhale, lifting the right leg and gently stepping the foot through to the top of the mat, drawing the left knee down. Taking the arms up overhead into our crescent moon lunge, and then taking the left hand down to the inside of the right leg and lifting the right hand up towards the ceiling, finding our internal twist one more time. Gazing up towards the fingertips on the right hand and breathing nice and deeply here. Then taking the right hand back down, maybe stepping the right foot slightly further forward and sinking into our modified crescent moon lunge one more time. Relaxing the shoulders down, keeping the chest nice and lifted, reaching up through the fingertips, getting a nice deep stretch through the left hip flexor here. Making sure the toes on the right foot are nice and relaxed, and then taking the hands to frame the front foot, stepping back to our plank, and maybe this time taking a full vinyasa. So lowering down to chaturanga, rolling through to upward facing dog, and exhaling back to our downward facing dog. Nice deep breath in downward facing dog, and on the inhale lifting the left leg up overhead and stepping the foot to the top of the mat. This time coming through to our full crescent moon lunge, keeping the arms up overhead, keeping the back leg lifted, and then finding a twist, so we're twisting towards the left, so the outside of the right elbow comes to the edge of the left knee, pressing through the heel and the back foot to keep the leg nice and active, and growing tall through the crown of the head all the way down to the foot. So nice strong line of energy through the body here. On the inhale, growing taller, and on the exhale, twisting a bit deeper. Then taking the hands back overhead, and then framing the front foot, stepping back to our plank and taking a vinyasa of your choice. So remember, always an option to lower the knees down and press through to cobra, and find our way back to downward facing dog. On the next inhale, lifting the right leg, and then stepping the right foot through to the top of the mat and coming to our crescent moon lunge on the other side. An option to keep the back leg lifted, pressing into the left heel, and then finding a twist. So twisting towards the right this time, so the left elbow comes to the outside of the right knee. On the inhale, growing tall through the crown of the head, pressing through the heel, and on the exhale, twisting a little bit deeper. Making sure the toes on the front foot are nice and relaxed. And then on the next inhale, taking the arms back overhead, and then framing the front foot, stepping back to our plank, drawing nice and strong, perhaps lowering to 90, rolling through to upward facing dog, and exhaling back to our downward facing dog. This time in downward facing dog, coming into a little twist. So we're going to take the right arm through underneath us and hold on to the outside of the left leg. You can hold above the left knee to make things a little easier, or try and reach all the way down towards the ankle to make it a bit more challenging. Then coming over to the opposite side, so taking the right hand back down and taking the left arm this time to the outside of the right leg. Trying to draw the chest through underneath, and gazing underneath the right armpit here. Taking both hands back to the mat, pressing into our downward facing dog, and then walking the feet towards the hands, coming into a forward fold. So option to use a block here, taking the hands to the block, letting the elbows come out towards the sides, or perhaps taking the hands to rest on the back of the calves, drawing the forehead in to meet the knees. Lifting the hips up towards the sky, and then on the inhale, finding a halfway lift. The exhale, lowering down and rolling up through the spine, circling the arms up overhead and sinking into our chair. And immediately twisting towards the left, so the right elbow comes to the outside of the left knee. You can sink the bum a little bit lower here, twisting nice and deep, trying to build some strength in the legs. And then stepping the right foot back, so we're landing in a twisted crescent moon lunge pose here. Option also to open the arms out towards the sides, and straightening up through the torso, so we're in a little side twist here. The left hand is behind us, the right arm's out in front. If you can, gaze towards the back hand here, and then circling the left arm up overhead, and taking both hands to frame the front foot, stepping back to our plank, and taking a vinyasa of your choice, meeting back in our downward facing dog. Nice deep breath in downward facing dog, and then slowly stepping the feet towards the hands and finding our way to another forward fold. Again, option to use a block, or maybe take the hands behind the legs, resting on the calves, lifting the hips up towards the sky. And then on the next inhale, finding a halfway lift, straightening out through the back, exhaling, lowering back down, rolling up through the spine, circling the arms up overhead, and finding our chair pose one more time. Keeping the chest nice and lifted, taking the hands to prayer, and twisting towards the right. So the left elbow comes to the outside of the right knee. If we can, sinking the bum down a little bit lower here. Breathing nice and deeply. And then we're going to step the left foot back, finding our twisted crescent moon lunge on the other side. Pressing into the left heel for strength, growing tall out the crown of the head. And then again we have the option to open the arms up towards the side, And then slowly straightening the torso, finding that side twist. So the right arm is behind us, the left hand is in front. See if we can sink into our legs, circling the arms up overhead, and then framing the front foot, stepping back to our plank, and taking a vinyasa of your choice, meeting back in our downward facing dog. Tucking the toes underneath us, lifting the hips up nice and high, keeping the back nice and straight with the neck in line with the spine. And then lifting the left leg up towards the sky and finding our way to warrior one this time, so taking the arms up overhead, finding a nice deep bend in the left leg, the right foot's out at 45 degrees, so you can use the marker at the back of your mat. Taking the hands behind the shoulders, interlacing the fingers, pressing the chest forward, and then slightly shortening the stance so both legs are straight, and gently folding over the front leg, wringing out through the shoulders here. Drawing the left hip back to intensify the stretch through the left hamstring, and then from here we're going to straighten through the back and either take the hands to the mat or option to use a block, so the hands rest on the block on the inside of the foot. So we're just coming a little bit deeper into that leg stretch here. And from here, finding our way to a twisted half moon position. So we're going to take the right hand firmly to the center of the block, extend the left hand up towards the sky. So we're opening and gazing towards the left fingertips here, trying to draw that right hip back a little bit further if we can to intensify the stretch. And then finding our way back to warrior one, moving any blocks out the way. And then taking the hands to frame the front foot, stepping back to our plank, pressing into the heels and taking a vinyasa of your choice. So remember, always an option to lower the knees down, come through to cobra, and then exhale, pressing back to downward facing dog. On the inhale, lifting the right leg and then stepping the right foot through to the top of the mat, finding warrior one on the other side. So again, taking the left foot to 45 degrees and bending the right knee nice and deeply. Trying to relax the toes on the front foot, then taking the hands behind the back, drawing the shoulders together, interlacing the fingers, lifting the chest, slightly shortening the stance so both legs are now straight, and folding to about halfway over the front leg, maybe a little deeper if you like, and drawing the right hip back here. Squeezing the shoulders together before releasing the hands and taking them to frame the front foot. Again, option to take the hands to a block, taking the block to the inside of the right foot and resting the hands there. Or if you want, you can keep the hands on the floor. We just want the back to be nice and straight here. Then taking the left hand to the center of the block, extending the right arm up towards the sky, coming into our twisted triangle on the other side. Breathing nice and deeply, and then taking the right hand to meet the left, moving the block out the way, taking the arms overhead, refinding our warrior one, and then taking the hands to frame the front foot, stepping back to our plank, and taking a vinyasa of your choice, so maybe lowering to 90, rolling through to upward facing dog, and exhaling back to our downward facing dog, tucking the toes underneath us, pressing into the heels, and then coming down to kneeling. Taking one round of camel here. So we're going to tuck the toes underneath us, lift the hips, take the hands to the lower back, draw the elbows together, and on the inhale, slowly lifting the chest towards the sky. We're growing nice and tall and finding a back bend, lifting and extending through the spine rather than collapsing backwards. Taking a deep breath here, and then slowly growing tall through the crown of the head, and finding our way back up towards center. Coming back to a kneeling position briefly and then pressing the hands on the mat and coming to seated. Then take a couple of seated twists. So from here, taking the right hand to the outside of the left knee, placing the left hand behind you on the inhale, growing tall, and on the exhale, twisting towards the left, gazing over the left shoulder, keeping the chest nice and proud, and then coming back through center, taking the left hand to the outside of the right knee, growing tall and then twisting towards the right, gazing over the right shoulder this time. Breathing nice and deeply. And then slowly coming back towards center. Taking the legs nice and wide here, lifting the arms up overhead, coming to a wide angle forward fold. Option to sit on a block, to lift the hips slightly. So if you're doing this, sit right to the back of the block so you don't fall off it. Then lifting the hands up overhead and reaching out in front of you. Option to round through the back, drawing the chin in towards the chest. And maybe coming over towards the left leg and folding over the left leg here. So the right hand's on the inside of the left leg, and the left hand's on the outside. On each exhale, see if we can sink a little bit deeper into the fold. And then coming back through center and over to the right hand side. So we're squaring off over the right leg. And on each exhale, see if we can sink a little bit deeper over the leg. And slowly coming back towards center, taking both hands out in front of you, and then walking the hands back in. I'm going to take the legs back together. If you're sitting on a block, just removing that out of the way. And then finding our way to lie on our backs. I'm going to take the right foot to rest on the back of the left knee and come to a recline pigeon here. Threading the hands through to rest on the back of the hamstring or on the front of the shin. Relaxing the shoulders down onto the mat. Breathing nice and deeply, stretching out through the left hip here. And then switching over sides, so taking the right leg to rest on top of the left, so the right ankle is just over the left knee. And again threading the hands through to either rest on the back of the hamstring or on the front of the shin here. Getting a deep stretch through the right hip this time. Really trying to slow the breath now, lengthening the inhales, feeling the chest rise, and on the exhale seeing if we can come a little bit deeper into the stretch. And slowly releasing the legs and setting ourselves up for a reclined twist. So coming over to the left hand side of the mat, taking the left arm nice and wide, the right hand comes to the outside of the left knee. Gazing over to the left hand if that feels good, twisting through the left hand side of the body as we draw the right leg over. Relaxing all the muscles in the face, starting to slow and wind down now. Bring back to center and over to the right hand side. Taking the left hand to the outside of the right knee, drawing it across the body, extending the left arm out towards the side and gazing over towards that hand if it feels good. Getting a nice deep stretch down the right hand side of the body. And then slowly rolling back towards center, taking the arms overhead, interlacing the fingers, pressing through the heels, coming into a full body stretch. Then on the next exhale, coming into Shavasana, letting the arms run down the side of the bodies, the palms facing up, relaxing into the mat. If you've got a spare moment, just pausing the recording here and just taking a moment to lie, relax and connect with the body, letting us absorb in the practice and just giving us that extra few minutes to switch off from the mind. Turning to observe the breath rather than control it. And the same with our thoughts. As any thoughts come through the mind, just acknowledging them and then letting them go. Relaxing all the way through the body now. Sinking into the mat. And then in your own time, rolling over to one side, briefly resting there, before making your way back up to a comfortable seated position. Gently rocking left and right on the sit bones. On the inhale, growing tall through the spine, and then taking the hands to prayer. On the exhale, bowing the head. Namaste.